A recent analysis finds as rates of depression and anxiety are on the rise due to the coronavirus pandemic, more people are experiencing insomnia. Researchers from the University of Ottawa found nearly 1/4 of those surveyed reported having insomnia. Healthcare workers reported the highest rate of insomnia, with over 36% reporting difficulty sleeping. To help us talk more about how we can safeguard our mental health, we are enlisting the help of a Catholic mental health counselor who has been a longtime resource for EWTN.
We only have about 40 seconds. Thank you, Allison. You're wonderful. You're one of those psychotherapists that a lot of people need, that talk to you about Jesus, huh?
And that is Allison Ricciardi, founder and president of CatholicTherapist.com, from her appearance with Mother Angelica more than 25 years ago. And Allison joins me right now on Skype. Allison, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I want to talk more about this connection between sleep and our mental health, especially as we face challenges related to the pandemic. I read there's even a term for the lack of sleep actually connected to the pandemic. It's called Coronasomnia. Can you talk more about why sleep is so important and also the healthy ways that we can ease anxiety and have a restful sleep?
Sure. It is a huge problem today. I think, first off, we have to realize that a lot of what we've been subjected to is a lot of misinformation, disinformation, hyperinformation. So just turning everything off, getting off of social media, getting off of the mainstream media is going to do wonders for a lot of people. I can't tell you over the years how many times people tell me I can't sleep, but what they do is they watch the news and try to go to sleep. It's not going to work. So also working on having a bedtime unwind routine, maybe praying the rosary, reading a novel, doing something, even a sitcom, something is going to start to calm your mind down. I think also we need to pray for the virtue of hope. We're feeling very hopeless right now in society. And we have to realize God is still on his throne. He is still in control. So, if people need help, if it's getting to the point where you're not able to function because of anxiety or depression, you need to seek out some help because there's a lot of isolation going on.
Yeah, and Allison, I was going to ask you about that feeling of isolation and fear. How can folks overcome that?
Well, staying connected with people, making phone calls, even sometimes you don't feel like it because you're feeling depressed. There's probably somebody who's in worse shape than you are. So to reach out to them, reach out particularly to the elderly. They've been really locked up for a long time with no visitors. A phone call can make a big, big difference in their lives. So we need to connect. We need to, like I said, stop listening to this campaign of fear and recognize that God is in control. Also, knowledge is power. A lot of what we're hearing isn't actually true. So we do need to listen to kind of like, instead of looking at how many people died, look at how many people are surviving. Like it's over a 99% survival rate. It's all in our perspective and how we look at things. But even, I think people need to really look at nutrition. One of the things that we're doing, when we're locked up and when, our routines, you might be out of work or whatever, we look for comfort foods. And those are not always the best thing. They may feel good when you're having them. So, to kind of cut back on the sugar, get more fruits and vegetables, more healthy living is going to go a long way, even in terms of sleep. That we need to be looking at that and how we're, even having something like chamomile tea at night, laying off the caffeine if you find yourself anxious. There's a lot of simple things that people can be doing.
Yeah, that is great advice. A lot of people don't even think about that. That is true. Earlier, we showed a clip of you and Mother Angelica, and I hope you don't mind me asking if you could share some thoughts on Mother for us.
Oh, Mother was an inspiration. What she was able to accomplish, she was just, as we all know, a character in the best sense of the word. And that show, in fact, was inspirational for starting Catholic Therapists because I knew there were other therapists out there that were solid in their faith, that integrated the faith into their practice. And it was a matter of just putting them all in one place, which is why I started Catholic Therapists. And, those, especially now, I think Mother Angelica is a good example for a lot of people who might be displaced in their jobs or things are changing. Mother Angelica started EWTN at 58 years old. So it is never too late to reinvent yourself. It's never too late to start something new, to be entrepreneurial. God will honor that. So to not lose hope, I think, people, particularly in their 50s, 60s, 40s, whatever, things are changing and it can be very scary, but there's always hope, so start thinking about maybe like what your skill level is and how can I monetize that? A lot of people are so afraid. So I think, Mother's a real inspiration for that she didn't let anything stand in her way. And God just honored that.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we let you go, Allison, do you have any other words of encouragement or hope or any favorite prayers that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think the rosary is my favorite prayer because we're meditating on those mysteries. Fulton Sheen talked about the rosary, how it's meditative, it's physical, we're moving the beads. There's so many benefits to that. And certainly that's what Our Lady has asked us for everywhere she appears, is to pray the rosary. And she told Sister Lucia that there is nothing that cannot be solved by praying the rosary. So I think to kind of enter into that meditative state, it's a great way of kind of like learning how to relax and to recognize that there's, God has solutions. The darkest day probably ever was Holy Saturday. I mean, it was a very disillusioning day for all of the disciples, but look what God did after that. So as dark as things may be right now, that's when God really shines, and either in the world and in our lives personally. So always, always, always hold on to hope, and just even praying for the virtue of hope, scripture, reading about the saints. Read Mother Angelica's life, Raymond Arroyo's book. It's awesome. It's very inspiring. And that's what we need to look for right now is inspiration. It's very easy to look to the darkness now, but we need to look for those lights that shine, right? The saints among us.
Absolutely. Allison, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you so much
Great
for
to be
all
here,
of that. God
Tracy.
bless you, and God bless you for what you do.
God bless you too.